Welcome back. The news in details. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi held a meeting on Monday with head of the Suez Canal Authority, Osama Rabia. Presidential spokesman Bassam Muradi said that the meeting followed up the performance and activities of the authority during the year 2021. During the meeting, President al-Sisi directed to boost the authority's ongoing projects within the strategy to upgrade the Suez Canal and its services. The President was briefed on navigation movement indicators since the beginning of the year, which came in accordance with the international institutions' forecasting for the world economic growth rates and oil prices. Meanwhile, Rabia reviewed the authority's efforts in developing the southern sector of the canal at 40 kilometers long to improve the navigation and trade movements through the waterway. Meanwhile, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi held another meeting on Monday with Minister of Endowment Mohammed Mukhtar Goma. President al-Sisi discussed means of boosting training programs for new imams in the fields of translation, writing and publishing. The President was also briefed on the results of the World Competition for Quran, which was lately held, where he pointed out to the importance of the context in illustrating the significance of the Holy Book's words and the meanings they call for. Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli inaugurated the 9th conference of the UN Convention Against Corruption that kicked off on Monday at the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh.
Addressing the opening session of the high-profile conference of the UN Convention Against Corruption, Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli said the conference is considered as an international testament of Egypt's successful role in tackling many issues by backing a rapprochement of viewpoints and a consolidation of ethical values. The Prime Minister said the 5-day conference will hopefully produce such decisions that can help make the world more interconnected and usher in a better future where stability, security, development and prosperity are established for all nations. Madbouli asserted that Egypt adopted a comprehensive national program for economic reforms which contributed in the regression of corruption. He also referred to state efforts during the past years for enhancing social security through several programs, including the presidential initiatives Decent Life, that aims at improving the quality of life for about 60 million Egyptians. Dr. Madbouli confirmed that giving attention to underprivileged categories in itself is part of fighting corruption and defeating forms of discrimination and inequality. In her speech at the UN Convention Against Corruption Conference, Executive Director of the UN Office for Fighting Drugs and Crime, Dr. Gheda Wali, said corruption threatens security of states and derails sustainable development drive. She added that states parties to the convention share a responsibility for continuing the fight against corruption. Meanwhile, the head of the Administrative Control Authority, Councillor Hassan Abdeshrafi, was chosen as president of the conference. Ministers of Justice, Planning, International Cooperation, Immigration, Local Development and Social Solidarity are taking part at the conference that runs from December 13th till 17th. Dubbed towards a world without corruption, the gathering will set out an international agenda for fighting corruption over upcoming years and a plan for post-pandemic recovery and for ensuring political and economic. On the sidelines of the conference, the Prime Minister visited the pavilion of the Administrative Control Authority at the International Conference Center in Sharm el-Sheikh. He praised efforts made to complete the exquisite pavilion so as highlight the authority's role in combating corruption in all its forms.
Of the 9th conference of the UN Convention Against Corruption, which kicked off on Monday at the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh, Nile TV reporter Hani Farag held the following interview with Dr. Badr al-Banna, the Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice Officer.
In this special coverage for the 9th conference on the states parties to the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, we have the pleasure to have now on RTV International Dr. Badr al-Banna, who is working in UODC. Great pleasure to have you today.
Thank you.
If you can speak more about your role today in this edition and even about your remarks on the United Nations Convention Against Corruption.
Thank you. So the UN Convention Against Corruption, or the UNCAC, has been adopted in 2003 by the UN General Assembly. And to date, we have 189 parties to that convention. So the Conference of the State Party to the convention is really an opportunity for those member states to come together every 2 years also to decide on the strategies and the measure to be taken in the future when it comes to the fight against corruption. This is a very important conference. This year has been the anti-corruption year, so to say. The General Assembly had a special session on corruption. It has adopted a political declaration on that topic. Also, a few months ago, we had the GLOBE network, which is the Global Operational Network of Anti-Corruption Law Enforcement Authority, which was established under the UN Office on Drugs and Crime to facilitate international cooperation among anti-corruption law enforcement authorities. So far, we have 80 anti-corruption authorities from 48 different countries member of that network, and we look forward in the days and weeks to come to have more authorities joining that network.
What is the main goals that it would be reached via this 9th conference, via this edition?
As I said, this is an opportunity for state parties to the convention to come together and decide on the strategies and the future measures to be taken when it comes to anti-corruption. Especially in these days, we have the COVID-19, and which is like a sort of an emergency or special circumstances, and this also create more opportunities for corruption. So this conference also will have the chance to decide on that. We have the Sharm el-Sheikh Declaration, which will be adopted by that conference, which in particular tackle that aspect of the fight against corruption.
But what will be, according to you, the main mechanism to be adopted on the ground in order to fight with efficiency, in order to fight effectively the corruption?
Indeed, if we look at the international legal framework, we have the UN Convention Against Corruption, which is a very comprehensive framework for the prevention and for the fight against corruption. So what we need is really more implementation of that convention, and this conference also will be a fora also to strengthen the political commitment of state parties to really implement effectively this convention. Fighting corruption, which is not a domestic crime anymore, it has this transnational dimension, so we need also international cooperation when it comes to fight against corruption. We have the mutual legal assistance channel, and as I said, now we have a new channel to exchange information, operational information, which is the GLOBE network. So this conference really would be the place to enhance this political commitment towards the fight against corruption.
My last question will be about the conditions, the bad conditions imposed by COVID on the national level, on the international level, and the burdens that you have today as one of those who are working in United Nations Office on Drug and Crimes, UNODC. So what you can do on the ground in order to fight corruption?
Indeed, as I said, the COVID-19, like any emergency situation, creates more potential for corrupt practices, especially that countries need to take decision urgently without going through the regular channel. also when it comes to public procurement, for instance. So it creates more potential for corruption. But despite that, we are glad to see, for instance, in that conference that we have over 2,130 registered participants to that conference, which is being organized in a hybrid format. So we have those participants either joining us, most of them are joining us in person, but also others are joining us virtually from all over the globe. They will also have the chance to take decisions on that, especially through the Sharm el-Sheikh Declaration, which in particular tackle this aspect, the fight against corruption in emergency situations.
Mr. Badr El-Banna, thanks a lot for this interview.
Thank you.
Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri asserted the strong relations between Egypt and the Gulf states. Shukri also stressed on the importance of continuing with boosting relations in all fields. Shukri's statements came during the political dialogue mechanism between Egypt and the Gulf Cooperation Council states that was launched in the Saudi capital, Riyadh. Shukri stressed Egypt's unchanged policy in boosting Arab coordination and joint work to protect national and Arab security, using Arab countries' capabilities in protecting their countries and peoples. He also underscored Egypt's refusal to all attempts of intervention in the Arab internal affairs or threatening Arab stability, in addition to Egypt's support to Gulf countries in taking necessary measures in preserving their security. The Interior Ministry on Monday said a recent conversation reported by terrorist Brotherhood media outlets purportedly made with a high-ranking official at a state institution was fake. The statement said the fabricated conversation used deceitful methods with the aim of obtaining illegal funds. It added that such leaks aim at affecting national security through spreading rumors and fabricated news to distort the image of the state institutions. The statement noted that the perpetrators haven't worked at any state institutions or government entities. The phone conversation was between a person assuming himself as Major General Farouk al-Adi and a woman assuming herself an advisor at the Presidency Office. Welcome back. Egypt's stock indices collectively slid in the trading session on Monday after being affected by profit-making selling operations of shares in different categories. Analysts said that profit-making selling operations by local investors and foreign investment funds led indices to slide early in the trading session and exceeded selective purchasing operations by Arab investors and local investment funds in different categories. So the benchmark EGX 30 index slid by 0.07%. The EGX 70 index for small and medium businesses also slid by 0.15%. And the broader EGX 100 index went down by 0.02%. After all indices slid by sales of investors, the market capitalization lost to close at £734.95 billion, amid transactions of about £2.8 billion.